You have achieved nothing in this life, my sister-in-law Caitlin told me rudely. She wanted to publicly insult me, to destroy me. If only she knew that I had more than $4 million in my bank account, she would have thought twice before saying that. But you can't take back the words. They hurt me and I realized that I would not leave them unanswered. Let's go back to the day it happened. The dining room smelled of roasted turkey and betrayal. Plates clinked, heaped with mashed potatoes and gravy, but the air was sour. I stood at the head of the table, my modest Chicago home dressed up for Thanksgiving, the chipped chandelier casting jagged light across mismatched chairs. My son Justin slouched beside his wife Caitlin, who swirled her wine like a weapon. The rest, Cousin Brenda, Uncle Phil, a few distant relatives, chewed in silence, eyes darting. I raised my glass for a toast, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. To family, I began. And the sacrifices You haven't achieved anything. Caitlin's voice sliced through mine, sharp as the knife beside her plate. Her wine glass hit the table, red droplets splashing onto the white cloth like blood. No career, no legacy. Just this house. She sneered, gesturing at the faded wallpaper. The room froze. Brenda coughed, hiding a laugh. Phil smirked into his plate. Justin's eyes flicked to his phone, avoiding mine. My fingers tightened around the serving spoon, knuckles whitening, but I kept my face calm. 30 years of holding it together. Through Richard's death, Justin's college bills, this family's endless needs. Taught me how to wear a mask. Caitlin, I said, voice low. I've done more than you'll ever know. Her smirk faltered, but only for a second. Oh please. What, raising Justin? He's barely keeping up as it is. Justin's nervous laugh grated like sandpaper. Come on, Kate, let's not. But he didn't finish, didn't look at me. Brenda chimed in. Well, she's got a point, Ellen. You've always been comfortable, not ambitious. Comfortable. The word stung, a blade wrapped in silk. Comfortable was me selling Richard's old Chevy to pay for Justin's tuition. Comfortable was skipping dinners to keep the lights on. I set the spoon down, deliberate, and pushed my chair back. Excuse me, I said, the words ice cold. The kitchen was a sanctuary. The hum of the football game on the living room TV a faint drone. I leaned against the counter, the cool tile grounding me. My eyes caught a framed photo on the wall. Richard and me laughing 20 years ago. He believed in me, in us. What would he think of this? Voices drifted from the dining room, low and venomous. Caitlin's whisper cut through. She'll pay for it anyway, Justin. She always does. Justin's murmur, agreement, not defense, twisted the knife deeper. My hands gripped the countertop, nails biting into the wood. They thought I was weak, a doormat. They had no idea who I was. I slipped down the hallway, pausing at the mirror by the front door. My reflection stared back. Graying hair, tired lines, but my eyes burned with something new. I straightened my shoulders, the motion deliberate, like shedding a skin. The woman in the mirror wasn't broken. She was waking up. Outside, the November air bit at my cheeks, my breath clouding in the chill. The street was quiet, the neighbors' lights glowing through drawn curtains. I stood on the porch, hands steady, mind racing. Caitlin's words echoed, but they weren't a wound anymore, they were fuel. I wouldn't let them win. Not this time. Before you continue listening to this story, please click on the subscribe button. Let's get 1,000 subscribers by the end of this week. Morning light slipped through the dated curtains, painting my living room in soft gold. The faded couch sagged under a quilt, the bookshelf held dog-eared finance books, and the locked desk in the corner whispered secrets. I sat with a mug of coffee, the steam curling like a question mark. Caitlin's voice still clawed at me. You haven't achieved anything. But the hurt was fading, replaced by something sharper. Anger. Purpose. I set the mug down, the ceramic clinking against the table, and stood. My movements were precise, deliberate, like a general mapping a war. The coffee maker hissed as I poured a second cup, the bitter scent grounding me. Last night I'd been a punching bag. Today I was something else. The desk lock clicked open, a small sound that felt like a gunshot. Inside, a single bank statement lay tucked beneath old letters. I unfolded it, eyes skimming the numbers, for $1 million. A fortune hidden from everyone, Justin, Caitlin, the vultures circling my table. Richard's investments, my careful planning, years of saying no to myself so others could have yes. I folded the paper and locked it away. Not yet. But soon. A memory flickered. Me, 30 years old, turning down a marketing job in the city. Justin had been sick, needed me home. Richard's hand on mine, promising we'd be okay. I'd chosen family over ambition, and I'd never regretted it. Until now. I picked up my phone, scrolling to Harry's number. Harry, the lawyer who'd helped Richard settle his estate, who knew my secrets and kept them. The line rang twice. Ellen. His voice crackled, warm but cautious. Been a while. I need your help, I said, my tone clipped professional. Family matters. Discreet. A pause. How discreet? Very. He chuckled. All right. Send me what you've got. I'll dig. I hung up, my pulse steady. Harry was a start, a thread to pull. I crossed to the bookshelf, fingers brushing an old photo album. Richard's face smiled up at me, frozen in time. I closed it, the snap of the cover final. No more nostalgia. Only forward. At the desk, I opened a notepad. My pen hovered, then pressed down the ink bold, justice. One word, a vow. I tore the page free, tucking it into my pocket. The laptop hummed as I powered it on, fingers flying across the keys. Caitlin's business website loaded, sleek, flashy, all surface. Her bio boasted awards I knew she'd never earned. I leaned closer, eyes narrowing. Every lie was a crack I could pry open. The room was silent, save for the tick of a clock on the mantel. Time, my old enemy, felt different now. It was mine to wield. I closed the laptop, the screen going dark. My reflection in the glass showed a woman I hadn't seen in years, focused, unyielding. I stood, the notepad's weight in my pocket, a quiet promise. The next move was mine. Caitlin's condo screamed money, but the kind that shouted instead of whispered. A gaudy gold-framed mirror hung over a bar cart cluttered with half-empty liquor bottles. The leather couch creaked as Justin slouched, his laptop glowing with a business proposal. Unpaid bills teetered on the kitchen counter, ignored. The faint buzz of a neighbor's TV seeped through the wall, a reminder of the world beyond their scheming. It was the evening after Thanksgiving, and Caitlin was still riding her high. She's pathetic, Caitlin said, pouring bourbon into a glass, her manicured nails clicking against the crystal. All that talk about family. What's she got? A dusty house and a dead husband. She laughed, sharp and mean, pacing the polished floor. Justin shifted, his eyes on the screen. Small, c'est. She's... Mom. His voice wavered, but his fingers kept scrolling. Mom. Caitlin spun, her drink sloshing. She's a walking ATM. You said it yourself, she paid our mortgage last year. And Justin, we need cash. He flinched barely, then shrugged. Yeah, okay. Business is rough. Rough. She snorted, leaning against the bar cart. That client bailed. We're bleeding money. But Ellen. Her lips curled. She's got plenty, right? She'll hand it over if we play nice. Justin's jaw tightened, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. He smothered it, clicking through the proposal. This deal could save us. If we get funding. Exactly. Caitlin's voice was silk now, coaxing. We charm her. Say it's an investment. She's too naive to check the numbers. She sipped her drink, eyes gleaming. God, did you see her face last night? She practically begged us to walk all over her. Justin's laugh was hollow. She didn't say much. Just that creepy line. More than you'll ever know. Caitlin waved it off. Hot air. She's nothing. She crossed to a side table, picking up a framed photo me, smiling at Justin's graduation. Her nose wrinkled like the picture smelled bad. This is in the way. She yanked open a drawer and tossed it inside, the glass clinking against junk. Justin glanced up, hesitating. Maybe we don't push too hard. She's done a lot for us. Done a lot. Caitlin's voice sharpened, a blade unsheathed. She owes us. You're her son, not her charity case. We deserve this. She set her glass down hard. Tomorrow you call her. Play the good son. Tell her we're struggling, need a little help. He nodded slow, his eyes back on the laptop. Yeah, I can do that. Good. Caitlin smirked, pacing again. By next month we'll have her money, and she'll still be thanking us. She slammed the drawer shut, the photo of me buried beneath papers. The room felt smaller, the air thick with their greed. Outside, Chicago's skyline glittered, cold and indifferent. Their plan was set, their confidence ironclad. They didn't know I was already moving. The coffee shop buzzed with mid-morning life, the scent of roasted beans mingling with soft jazz from overhead speakers. Polished wooden tables gleamed under skylights, and a barista's espresso machine hissed in the background. I sat in a corner, my notebook open, pen tapping a steady rhythm against scribbled notes about Caitlin's business. A week after Thanksgiving, Chicago's chill clung to my coat, but my mind was sharp, focused. I'd chosen this spot for privacy, its upscale calm a perfect stage for what came next. My fingers traced the rim of a ceramic mug, the coffee's warmth seeping into my palms. Harry was late, but I didn't mind. Waiting gave me time to refine my questions, to sharpen the edges of my plan. Caitlin and Justin thought they'd humiliated me. They'd learned soon enough who they were dealing with. The door chimed and Harry stepped in, his leather briefcase swinging. Gray hair, sharp suit, eyes that missed nothing. He hadn't changed since our marketing days, when we'd pitched campaigns over late-night pizza. He spotted me, his smile warm but cautious. Ellen Wilson, as I live and breathe. Harry. I stood, shaking his hand, my grip firm. Thanks for coming. We sat, and he clicked his briefcase open, pulling out a thin folder. You sounded serious on the phone. What's this about? I leaned forward, voice low. Caitlin and Justin's company. I need you to dig deep. Irregularities, debts, anything off. His eyebrow arched, but he didn't push. Family trouble? Something like that. I kept my tone even, sliding a business card across the table. Caitlin's company logo, bold and tacky. The card's weight felt like a gauntlet thrown. Start here. Harry picked it up, studying it. Already pulled some basics. Their loan applications. He tapped the folder. Sloppy. Multiple banks, same collateral. Smells desperate. My eyes sharpened, but I kept my face neutral. Desperate was good. Desperate meant cracks I could exploit. What else? Not much yet. Takes time to get the good stuff. He leaned back, sipping his coffee. You gonna tell me what's driving this? You're not exactly the vengeful type. I smiled, thin and deliberate. Just protecting what's mine. He chuckled, but his eyes stayed serious. All right. I'll dig. Legal vulnerabilities too. Especially those. My voice was steel now, cutting through the shop's hum. I want everything. No surprises. Harry nodded, tucking the card into his folder. You've got it. But Ellen, whatever you're planning, watch your back. A spoon clattered behind the counter, and I flinched just for a second. My pulse steadied instantly. Always do. We wrapped up, his briefcase snapping shut like a promise. I paid the bill, my movements deliberate, and stepped outside. The business card was back in my purse, its logo a spark in my mind. Chicago's wind whipped my scarf, but my stride was steady, purposeful. I slid into my car, the engine humming to life. Harry's findings were a start, a thread to pull. The next move was already forming. Snow tapped the window of my home office, a soft rhythm against the late evening quiet. The room was small, warm, cluttered with purpose. A desk piled with papers, a single lamp casting golden light. A chair that creaked when I leaned back. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, the betrayal still burned, but tonight it fueled me. I sifted through a box of financial records, my fingers steady, eyes scanning for answers. A faded receipt caught my attention, its ink blurring at the edges. Tuition payment, 10 years old. My breath caught and the memory surged. I was 45, sitting across from a banker in a sterile office, my hands folded tightly. Mrs. Wilson, this loan will wipe your savings, he'd said, skeptical. I'd met his gaze, unflinching. It's for my son's future. Do it. That money, meant for a trip Richard and I had dreamed of, went to Justin's college. No regrets then. Now, I wasn't so sure. I set the receipt aside, my chest tight but my focus unbroken. The box held more secrets and I dug deeper. A document slid out, crisp and recent, its fine print a punch to the gut. A lone 6 figures taken out in my name. Caitlin's signature sprawled at the bottom, bold as her smirk at Thanksgiving. No permission, no warning. My fingers froze, the paper trembling slightly. They hadn't just mocked me, they'd stolen from me. How could they? I muttered, my voice a low growl in the empty room. My anger wasn't wild, it was cold, precise. I opened my laptop, the screen's glow harsh against the lamp's warmth. An email to Harry took shape, the document scanned and attached. Found this. Fraud. Dig deeper. I typed, each keystroke a hammer strike. Sent. I leaned back, the chair creaking again. The snow outside thickened, sticking to the glass like secrets piling up. My eyes fell on a small frame by the lamp, Justin's graduation, his smile wide, a thank you note tucked into the corner. Mom, you're the best. It read, his teenage scrawl sloppy but earnest. I pulled the note free, the paper soft from years of handling. My throat tightened but my hands didn't waver. The note tore cleanly, the sound sharp in the quiet. I tossed the pieces into the trash, a weight lifting with them. The laptop pinged, Harry's reply brief. On it. Call tomorrow. Good. I stood stretching, my reflection faint in the snowy window. The woman staring back wasn't the one who'd begged the banker for a loan. She was harder, sharper, ready. The box of records sat open, more secrets waiting. I reached for another file, my fingers brushing the cold paper. Whatever Caitlin and Justin had done, I'd find it. And I'd make them pay. The conference room's glass walls reflected gray clouds. Chicago's skyline muted beyond them. The polished table gleamed, a projector humming softly at its center. I stood at the head 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, my navy blazer crisp, my smile warm but calculated. The rented office space screamed legitimacy, exactly what I needed. Caitlin and Justin sat across from me, her perfume heavy in the air, his pen clicking nervously. My trap was set and they were walking right in. "Thank you for coming." I began, my voice smooth, practiced. The projector flickered to life, casting charts across the screen. Real estate projections, glossy and convincing. "I've been approached by some old contacts. A real estate venture, high returns, low risk. I thought of you." Caitlin leaned forward, her chair scraping. "How high are we talking?" Her eyes glinted, greedy, already counting profits. I clicked to the next slide, numbers dancing. 15% annually minimum. Prime properties, fast turnaround. Lies carefully crafted, backed by a shell company I'd funded through Harry's contacts. But it needs significant capital up front. Justin's pen stopped clicking. "What kind of significant?" His voice was cautious, but his gaze flicked to Caitlin, deferring. 200,000 to start. I kept my tone light, watching their reactions. Caitlin's lips parted slightly, a predator scenting blood. Justin shifted, uneasy but silent. "That's steep," he muttered, but Caitlin cut him off. "Steep?" She laughed, sharp and dismissive. "It's a steal for those numbers. What's the catch?" "No cuts." I met her gaze, my smile unwavering. "Just a tight timeline. My contacts need commitments by next week." I slid a glossy proposal packet across the table, its cover catching the light. The weight of it felt like a lock snapping shut. Caitlin snatched it, flipping through pages. "This is impressive. You're sure about the returns?" "Absolutely." I leaned back, hands folded. "I trust these people. But it's your call." She didn't hesitate. "We're in. Right, Justin?" Her tone left no room for argument. He nodded, slow, his pen clicking again. "Yeah. Sounds good." "Wonderful." I stood, gathering my notes, my movements deliberate. "I'll send the paperwork tomorrow. Wire the funds by Friday and we're set." Caitlin was already texting, probably bragging to someone. Justin forced a smile, his eyes darting to the packet. They stood, murmuring thanks, and filed out, the glass door swinging shut behind them. I stayed, my fingers tapping the table, a rhythm of triumph. The projector's hum faded as I powered it down. Outside, the clouds thickened, promising snow. I slipped the proposal's master copy into my bag, its edges crisp. Caitlin and Justin thought they'd scored a win. They had no idea what was coming. The pale winter light barely reached my home office, the blinds slicing it into thin strips across my cluttered desk. A month after Thanksgiving, Chicago's frost clung to the window, but my focus was razor sharp. The faint scent of herbal tea lingered, my mug cooling beside a stack of papers. The computer buzzed, a low hum that felt alive, urgent. I was reviewing investment logs when a red alert flashed on the screen. Unauthorized transfer attempt. Caitlin's name glared in the details, bold and reckless. My pulse quickened, but my hands stayed steady. I leaned forward, eyes narrowing. She tried to siphon funds from the fake investment account I'd set up. $20,000, rerouted to an offshore account. Sloppy. Arrogant. Did she think I wouldn't notice? I clicked into the bank's security portal, the interface stark and familiar. Years ago, after Richard's death, I'd set up real-time alerts to protect my wealth. That choice was paying dividends now. I dialed the bank, the phone cold against my ear. "This is Ellen Wilson," I said, voice calm but firm. "Account ending in 4823. Freeze a transfer attempted at 2:17 p.m. today. Unauthorized." The clerk hesitated. "Can you confirm?" "Do it now." I cut in, my tone leaving no room for debate. "Then send me the transaction details." A pause, then typing on her end. "Done, ma'am. Details emailed." I hung up, the silence heavy. A pen rolled off the desk, clattering unnoticed. My anger wasn't loud. It was a cold, precise thing, like a blade honed for cutting. I opened my email, the bank's report already waiting. Caitlin's digital fingerprints were everywhere. Her login, her IP address. She hadn't even tried to cover her tracks. I called Harry next, my fingers drumming the desk. He picked up on the first ring. "Ellen, what's up?" "Caitlin tried to steal from the account," I said, voice low. 20 grand. Bank stopped it. "I need this documented. Everything." Harry chuckled, dry and knowing. "She's bolder than I thought. And dumber. I'll log it, clear paper trail." "You want me to push harder on their financials?" "Yes," I said. "Find out where she planned to send the money. And keep it quiet." "Got it." His tone sharpened. "You're playing a tight game, Ellen. Hope you're ready for the fallout." "I am." I hung up, leaning back. The chair creaked, the sound grounding me. Caitlin's move was a gift, a crack in her armor I could widen. I returned to the computer, the alert still glowing. One click, and the transaction was gone, deleted from the system like it never happened. My lips curved, a quiet smirk breaking through. She'd underestimated me, and it would cost her. The monitor's glow lit my face, casting shadows across the room. Outside, the frost thickened, sealing the world in silence. I reached for my tea, the mug cold now, and took a sip. The next step was already taking shape. The library smelled of old paper and wax polish, its hushed air wrapping around me like a cloak. Snow piled outside, muffling the Chicago evening 5 weeks after Thanksgiving. I sat at a corner table, my scarf brushing my chin. A financial report from Harry spread before me. Justin's debt stared up, credit card balances, a risky business loan, all recent, all tied to Caitlin's schemes. My jaw tightened, the numbers a map of his greed. I flipped a page and a car loan entry stopped me cold. 5 years ago I'd paid it off for him. The memory hit hard. I was 50, working overtime to cover his debt, my hands sore from typing invoices. Justin had called, voice breezy. Car's safe, right? Thanks, Mom. A text followed to checks. That was it. No visit, no real gratitude. I'd sat alone at my desk, the weight of his dismissal heavier than the money I'd spent. I told myself he'd grow up. I was wrong. Back in the library, I shook off the memory, my scarf slipping. I tugged it back, focusing. The report showed Justin's debt spiraling, $50,000 and climbing, with Caitlin's name on joint accounts. They were drowning, and they thought I'd be their lifeline. My pen scratched totals into a small ledger, each stroke deliberate. These numbers were leverage, a weapon I could wield. I texted Harry, thumb steady on my phone. Debts confirmed? Recent. His reply came fast. All new. Caitlin's pushing him hard. Want me to pull more? Yes, I typed. Everything. Fast. I hit send, the screen's glow sharp in the dim light. A patron coughed nearby, breaking the quiet, but I barely noticed. Justin's betrayal wasn't new, but its depth cut fresh. He'd taken my sacrifices, my time, my dreams, and tossed them aside. No more. I flipped through the report again, my eyes catching on a late payment notice. Another crack in their facade. My mind raced, piecing together how to use it, though I kept the plan locked tight. The library's murmurs faded, the world narrowing to the pages before me. I closed the folder, the snap loud in the stillness. My hopes for Justin's redemption were gone, buried under his debts. Snow pressed against the window, a quiet witness. I slipped the folder into my bag, the weight of it grounding me. My phone stayed dark, Harry's next update still hours away. I stood, scarf tied around my neck, and headed for the exit. The library doors loomed ahead, heavy and waiting. Sunlight leaked through my living room window, weak and gray, 6 weeks after Thanksgiving. The worn couch sagged under a quilt, the coffee table cluttered with coasters and a ticking clock. I stood by the fireplace, arms crossed, when the doorbell rang. Caitlin's heels clicked on the porch before I even opened the door. She stormed in, Justin trailing, his face flushed. The air crackled, their anger a storm about to break. You sabotaged us. Caitlin's voice was a whip, her heels stabbing the hardwood floor. That investment was a bust, Ellen. Your contacts fed us garbage. She jabbed a finger at me, her nails sharp as her tone. I raised an eyebrow, calm. Sabotaged? That's a strong word. Don't play innocent, she snapped, pacing. We're bleeding money, and it's your fault. You pushed that deal. Justin rubbed his jeans, palms sweaty, leaving faint marks on the denim. Mom, come on, you said it was solid. Now we're in trouble. His voice cracked, eyes darting to Caitlin. I stepped forward, voice low, steady. Trouble you made. I pulled a bank statement from the table, the paper crinkling as I handed it to Caitlin. Like this. Your attempt to transfer $20,000 from my account. Without permission. Caitlin's face paled, but she recovered fast, tossing her hair. That's nonsense. You're twisting things. You're just incompetent. Incompetent. I tilted my head, a smile flickering. The bank disagrees. So does my lawyer. You left a trail a mile wide. Justin stammered. Kate, you didn't. Shut up, she hissed, glaring at him. The clock's tick filled the silence, loud and relentless. She turned back to me, eyes blazing. You think you're clever? You're nothing. You'll regret this. I leaned against the fireplace, unshaken. Be careful, Caitlin. You're not as untouchable as you think. Her lips parted, but no words came. Justin's shoulders slumped, his gaze fixed on the floor. Caitlin spun, grabbing his arm. We're done here, she spat, dragging him toward the door. It slammed behind them, their bickering fading down the driveway. I crossed to the window, watching their car speed off, tires crunching gravel. My posture was rigid, But inside, I felt a spark of victory. The statement lay on the table, its numbers a quiet accusation. They were cracking, their confidence fraying. I turned away, the clock still ticking, its rhythm steady as my pulse. My next move was already in motion, waiting in the shadows. The rented office smelled of fresh paint and ambition, its bare walls interrupted only by a whiteboard scrawled with timelines and notes. Downtown Chicago hummed beyond a cracked window, the late morning light glinting off skyscrapers. 7 weeks after Thanksgiving, I stood at the board, pen scratching as I underlined reveal in sharp red. My thermos of coffee sat on the desk, its faint tang cutting through the sterile air. Every detail of the charity gala was mapped out, speeches, evidence, reactions. This was my endgame, and I was ready. I traced the timeline, my handwriting neat, deliberate. The gala was tomorrow, a glittering stage for Caitlin and Justin's downfall. My laptop glowed with a draft of my speech, words honed to cut without bleeding. I'd organized events before, charity dinners with Richard, years ago, when we'd charmed donors with smiles and purpose. That skill was my weapon now. My phone buzzed, Harry's name flashing. I answered, keeping my voice clipped. "Tell me you've got it." "Ironclad," he said, his tone all business. "Bank records, emails, the forged loan in your name. They're frauds laid bare. You sure about this? Public's messy." "Messy's the point." I paced, eyes on the whiteboard. "Send me the files. Digital and hard copies." "Already done." A pause. "You're scary when you're focused, Ellen." I smirked, unseen. "Good." I hung up, the silence sharp. The door creaked, and the gala organizer, a brisk woman named Linda, stepped in, clipboard in hand. "Mrs. Wilson, about the seating chart," she started, then paused, eyeing my setup. "Busy morning?" "Always." I flashed a warm smile, slipping into charm. "Linda, I'd love a slot for a special announcement tomorrow. Something to honor the community." Her eyes lit up. "Of course. Mid-program." "Perfect." I guided her out, my tone light, my mind racing. She left, none the wiser. Alone again, I opened a folder on my desk, bank statements, emails, loan records. I flipped through, checking each page. Airtight, just as Harry promised. My breath stayed even, but my pulse thrummed with anticipation. A gala invitation sat by the laptop, its elegant font a quiet taunt. I picked it up, the paper smooth, and pinned it to the whiteboard. The pin pierced the board with a soft thud, a final piece locking into place. I stepped back, surveying my work. The timelines, the evidence, the plan. It was all there, a machine built to dismantle lies. Sunlight shifted, casting my shadow across the board. I grabbed my thermos, the coffee bitter on my tongue, and sat at the desk. The laptop hummed, waiting for my next command. Tomorrow was close, and I was ready to step into the light. Before you continue listening to this story, please click on the subscribe button. Let's get 1,000 subscribers by the end of this week. The ballroom glowed under chandeliers, white linens draping round tables where Chicago's elite sipped wine. Soft piano notes mingled with clinking glasses, the air thick with perfume and expectation. 8 weeks after Thanksgiving, I stood backstage, the spotlight's heat already brushing my skin. The gala honored a charity Richard and I had supported, but tonight it was my arena. Caitlin and Justin sat near the front, her sequin dress catching light, his tie slightly askew. They didn't know what was coming. The MC introduced me, her voice warm. "Ellen Wilson, a pillar of our community." Applause rippled as I stepped to the podium, my navy gown flowing, my smile serene. The crowd leaned in, expectant. I scanned the room, locking eyes with Caitlin. Her smirk faltered, just for a second. "Thank you." I began, voice clear, carrying. This cause meant everything to my late husband. But tonight I want to talk about truth, about trust betrayed in our community. The room hushed, glasses pausing mid-sip. I clicked a remote, and the projector hummed, casting a bank statement on the screen. "Caitlin and Justin Miller," I said, my tone steady, "have defrauded this community." Gasps broke the silence. Caitlin shot up, her champagne flute wobbling, spilling gold onto the table. "That's a lie," she shouted, voice cracking. I didn't flinch. "Is it?" Another click and emails appeared. Her orders to transfer funds from my account, forged loans in my name. "You stole. You lied. The evidence is here." The crowd murmured, heads turning to the couple. Justin sank in his chair, face ashen, his hands gripping the table. Caitlin's eyes darted. "This is a setup. She's jealous, bitter." I cut her off, placing a stack of documents on the podium, the weight heavy, final. "This loan, forged in my name, says otherwise." I held up a single page, its text stark under the spotlight. You thought no one would notice. The crowd's murmurs grew sharp, disdainful. Caitlin looked stunned and Justin tried to speak. Mom, I didn't. But the crowd's murmurs interrupted him. I stepped back, letting the evidence speak. Whispers chased the couple as Caitlin grabbed Justin's arm, dragging him toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed frantic as the ballroom doors swung shut. I nodded to the MC, stepping off the stage, my expression calm. The piano resumed, but the air had shifted, charged, alive. I slipped through the crowd, their nods of respect brushing past me. Outside, the city sparkled cold and clear. I paused by a window, the reflection showing a woman who'd won. But my work wasn't done. Lake Michigan shimmered under spring sunlight, its waves lapping the shore beyond the cafe's floor-to-ceiling windows. The airy space buzzed with mid-morning chatter, plates clinking, the scent of fresh pastries drifting. 3 months after the gala, I sat across from Harry, a stack of papers between us, charity foundation documents, my new beginning. My coffee cup clinked on its saucer, the sound crisp, grounding. My scarf fluttered in a breeze from an open window, and I felt lighter than I had in years. I signed the final page, my pen gliding, the ink bold. Richard would have loved this, I said, voice soft but sure. The foundation, named for him, would fund community programs. My legacy, not revenge. Harry grinned, leaning back. You're a force, Ellen. Speaking of forces. He slid a news article across the table, his eyes glinting. Caitlin and Justin. Lawsuits piling up, condos for sale. Word is, they're persona non grata in Chicago. I glanced at the headline, local couple faces fraud charges, and nodded, unsurprised. They made their choices. My tone was even, no trace of gloating. Justice wasn't about crowing, it was about balance. Their downfall was their own doing, my trap just the spark. You don't seem shocked, Harry said, sipping his latte. Should I be? I raised an eyebrow, a faint smile tugging my lips. They underestimated me. Big mistake. He laughed, loud enough to turn heads. Understatement of the year. He tapped the foundation papers. This, though? This is you. The real you. I looked out at the lake, its vastness stretching to the horizon. The gala had stripped Caitlin and Justin bare, but it had also freed me. I wasn't the woman who'd stood humiliated at Thanksgiving. I was Ellen Wilson, whole again, building something new. My wealth, carefully guarded, now freely given, made this possible, but my strength came from within. A passerby paused, an older woman with kind eyes. You're Ellen Wilson, right? From the gala. Her voice was hesitant, respectful. You did good, exposing those liars. Thank you, I said, meeting her gaze. She nodded and moved on, leaving a warmth in her wake. My reputation, once a quiet thing, now carried weight. I welcomed it. Harry gathered his things, standing. Keep me posted on the foundation. And try to stay out of trouble. No promises, I teased, and he chuckled, heading out. Alone I sipped my coffee, the liquid cool now. The lake kept its rhythm, endless, calm. I set the cup down, the clink a quiet vow. The foundation was just the start, new plans, new purpose, all mine to shape. I stood, scarf trailing, and stepped toward the door, the sunlight warm on my face. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like this video and click on the subscribe button. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the week, so that as many people as possible can learn about this story. We also recommend listening to our previous story. It is even more shocking. Just click on the box on the left to play it. Thank you for watching.